Hi, I'm Rachel Freeman.
And I'm Clark Schaefer.
Welcome to this edition of Teens in Action.
In this show, we will focus on violence. We will explore the realities of emotional abuse, physical abuse, and effects of dating violence.
Violence is present whenever someone feels unsafe, threatened, or uncomfortable. So, is violence just physical?
We want to know what you think, so we sent our Teens in Action reporters around the city to ask teens if they can recognize the different forms of violence.
Violence is not just a physical attack. Verbal and emotional abuse is also violence. How do people express violence differently?
It's just like not physical and it's, verbal or, like emotional. Like some people will hit someone or they will like threaten them.
I don't know, I socked the wall.
Oh, well, I think guys are more aggressive than girls are.
I think women are more aggressive than men. They're ready to fight like all the time.
So I guess some people express it through words, fighting, tagging.
Guys punch and girls scratch and pull hair.
Through rumors, violence, physical.
I think guys do it physically and girls kind of keep it to themselves.
Some people have angry tempers and they just...
What do you think is worse, physical violence or emotional violence?
Both.
I think emotional, just because it messes with a person's mind and the way they feel about themselves.
Emotional is worse because it can stay inside of you and then you can just explode and do something stupid.
I think emotional is because if it grows up inside, you'll hit something that you don't even know.
Emotional violence can be damaging more because it gets in people's heads and it's mentally disturbing.
Emotional.
Definitely emotional because a bruise can heal, but it takes a lot more to mend someone's heart.
Emotional. Emotional.
When is violence acceptable and why?
Violence isn't acceptable because there should be another way for you to show your emotion without having to abuse someone mentally or physically.
Defense.
I don't think violence is acceptable at all.
Only when someone's beating you up and then self-defense.
If you're at the whiskey and you're in a mosh pit.
It's not, I guess, never.
I don't think violence is acceptable anytime, but if you need to stand up for yourself and it comes down to violence where somebody's hurting you and you need to stick up for yourself, then I guess there would be no problem standing up for yourself.
We went out and asked 100 teens these questions. In a relationship, have you ever experienced any of the following situations? Have you ever felt threatened, humiliated, or controlled by a dating partner? The results stated that 4 out of 10 teens said they have been emotionally abused by their boyfriend or girlfriend. Have you ever been hit, slapped, kicked, or otherwise physically hurt by a dating partner? 8 out of 10 teens have not been physically hurt, but unfortunately, 2 out of 10 teens have been physically abused by their dating partner. Have you ever yelled at, humiliated, or threatened your boyfriend or girlfriend in order to get them to do what you want? Actually, 3 out of 10 teens admitted to being abusive toward their boyfriend or girlfriend.
Emotional abuse is when someone doesn't care about your feelings. They use hateful remarks, put-downs, and rumors in an attempt to keep you under their control.
The abuser will often isolate you from your friends and family. It can be obsessive. Emotional abuse will eventually harm a person's self-esteem.
In our next segment, a group of teens talk about how emotional abuse changes our own perception of who we are.
Emotional abuse is considered the secret identity of violence. It can be disguised as rejection, humiliation, and intimidation. Let's start with rejection. Rejection is when someone refuses to acknowledge you or your opinions. How does rejection affect your self-esteem?
If you get rejected by your friends, you want to hang out and they're like, oh, well, they kind of push you in the back. You kind of feel like you're not wanted or you're not able to keep up with them. You're not cool enough.
I feel that humiliation is a terrible thing to go through. And not only does it affect us at that moment, but also in the long run.
It does bring down your self-esteem because you might not think they would like you to join with them in their activity, and it could bother you.
Being rejected to me is a very big deal because you look at yourself and say, what do you do now? You don't know what to do. You find yourself in confusion. Your self-esteem gets lowered. You feel less confident in yourself. Some people lose hope. They just don't know what to do. You got to be stronger than that.
How do the after effects of rejection change your social character?
I think when that happens, people, depending on how you feel about yourself, some people isolate themselves.
Rejection stays as long as you want it to stay, depending on who you are. Like if you really want to feel rejected your whole life.
I think it limits you. Once you get rejected, I think you go down a step and you get limited to what you want to do.
Did you know abuse is a pattern of behavior where one uses power and control over their partner to get what they want? Who is more likely to abuse their partners, males or females? Think about it, and we'll be right back.
I should have known he'd be angry.
There are some scars we see.
I'm afraid of what he'll do if I leave him.
And some scars we don't.
He loves me.
Sorry, baby, it'll never happen again.
He just can't help himself.
There are no excuses. Don't let anyone treat you like a punching bag. Exercise your rights.
Discover your freedom.
Break the cycle. Empowering youth to end domestic violence.
So who's more likely to abuse their partner? Both males and females abuse their partners. Females are more likely to inflict emotional abuse, while it's more common for males to inflict physical and sexual abuse.
When teenagers think about violence, they don't relate it to dating relationships. Often, teens believe that jealousy is a sign of love, that they would never become a victim, and if put in this type of situation, they can handle it themselves.
Next, the Teens in Action crew ask a panel of experts about the reality of dating violence.
We are here today with a panel from Break the Cycle, a national organization that teaches youth and young adults about dating and domestic violence, healthy relationships, and their legal rights. Statements such as, I didn't mean to do it, or you made me hit you is common for abusers. Is abuse a choice?
That's a great question. Absolutely, abuse is a choice. People can choose to respond to difficult situations violently or non-violently, and oftentimes abusers actually choose violence as a way to solve conflict.
Yes, I agree that abuse is a choice, but oftentimes abusers do not take responsibility for that choice. Instead, they do blame the victim, saying, how did you expect me to react when I saw you doing this? Or, you know how I get when I see you talking to other boys. So definitely it's a choice, and that's why it's important for victims to become educated about the cycle of violence so that they can recognize that it's not their fault.
It definitely is a choice, but sometimes a person was raised in an abusive environment as a child, but that's no excuse for growing up to become an abuser yourself. You have to choose to break the cycle, and you have to choose to empower yourself and to make healthy decisions.
Would you ever mentally or physically abuse your best friend?
No.
Then why would you let her boyfriend? Don't sit on the sidelines and let your friends be abused.
A typical description of an abusive man, a perpetrator, is that he is uneducated, an alcoholic or drug abuser, and of lower economic class. How would you describe a perpetrator of an abuse looks and acts like?
Well, you can't really describe what a typical perpetrator of abuse looks and acts like, because it could really be, a man or a woman, gay or straight, and, across the board from all classes.
Definitely, I just want to emphasize that although we oftentimes think that an abuser is only a man, oftentimes women are the abusers themselves, and they can abuse men and women alike. So that's something that we really need to pay attention to, that it's not only men who are abusing women.
You're stubborn.
Yo, you're stubborn.
You never listen.
You'll never happen again.
You're stubborn.
Yo, you're.
I promise. You're stubborn.
Yo, you're.
I promise. You're stubborn.
Yo, you're.
I promise. You're stubborn.
Yo, you're stubborn.
What type of behavior usually comes before physical violence? Oftentimes, abuse can be emotional before it becomes physical, and some of the important warning signs to look out for are possessiveness, jealousy, controlling behavior. Sometimes an abuser will try to isolate his or her victim from their family and friends.
Why do women hide the fact that they have been assaulted?
Again, a lot of times women are embarrassed to admit that something violent has happened to them or they've been assaulted. It's hard to talk to people about really personal and intimate things that happen in their lives, and so it becomes really difficult to speak about it.
He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me. He loves me not. Break the cycle. Stand against domestic violence.
Why do people choose to stay in abusive relationships?
There are a lot of reasons why victims have a hard time leaving abusive relationships. One reason that's important is that, of course, they may have feelings for their abuser, and it can be very confusing for someone that you think you love to be abusing you. Another reason could be that they've become so isolated from their family and friends that they don't feel that they have anyone else they could turn to. Or they could become financially dependent on their abuser. For example, if they live together, if they have children together, they might not want to break up the family. So there's a lot of reasons like that why victims have a hard time leaving abusive relationships, and it takes some people multiple attempts before they're successful, but that's why it's really important not to judge the victim and to just be supportive of them and try to encourage them to get out because they deserve to be in healthy relationships.
Look at you. How could you do something like that? You swore years ago you wouldn't do what your father did, but look at you now. You're not where it started, but you can be where it ends.
Thank you all very much, and we hope teens will now understand their right to have a safe and healthy relationship.
I told him to stop. I'm afraid of him.
I can't leave. I don't have anyone else.
I don't know what to do. There is help. Millions of teenagers are sexually and mentally harassed by their significant other every year. You can help break the cycle. Ask questions. Don't let fear hold you back.
Next on our survey, we asked, would you physically hurt your boyfriend or girlfriend if he or she called you nasty names? 30% said that they would be physically aggressive. Ignored you? 22% of teens said yes. Flirted with your best friend? Can you believe almost half said they would? Hit or pushed you? More than half actually said yes. Broke up with you? 20% of teens would lash out physically if their girlfriend or boyfriend broke up with them.
Finding someone you like and want to go out with is always exciting. It should be easy, but dating relationships can be confusing, especially for teens.
Dating can bring on new emotions like insecurity, separation, anxiety, and jealousy. Let's see what a group of teens at Monterey High School have to say about how these relationships can make your life a little more complicated.
How does your culture, friends, or cliques often affect the people or influence the people you date?
Parents can be really strict, with who you date, and I know some races, they're like, oh, you can only date certain people, and you can't date this other people, and it's hard because when you fall for somebody, you don't know who it's gonna be, you just fall for them because, I don't know, you still.
My mom, she would rather, a Persian Armenian, she would rather have me dating a Persian Armenian than any other race. I don't know why. I guess that's how she is, but I respect that.
If you're with someone, your friends are just get at it, and yeah, they'll be get at it, do the damn thing, but drop it exactly, and you'll do it just because your friends, you want to look cool.
They'll brag on you until you do it.
You want to look cool in front of your friends, so when your friends tell you to do something, you'll most likely do it. So.
But they're gonna keep going at it whatever. They're gonna break up. I give them this much time and blah blah blah.
And that does make it hard.
Yeah,
How do people change when they're in a dating relationship?
I have a friend that I grew up with. We've known each other since we were 4 maybe. He just changed completely. He stopped hanging out with all of us, and totally ditched everyone. He moved out with her. He started talking about everyone, bad mouthing everyone.
people often change like the way they dress and stuff, you know, when they meet somebody. And I'm when like you have a girlfriend, you do want to look nice.
If I'm wearing this and like my boyfriend doesn't like it, like he could just be like what are you doing wearing that? Or like before you were together, you could wear something, but now that you're together, like you can't wear that shirt because he doesn't want you wearing that because he doesn't want people looking at you. Like that's, yeah, you know, like
jealousy is often mistaken for caring about you. How does this possessive behavior affect a relationship?
Trust, respect, and communication. Okay, but half of the time we don't have that.
You don't have.
You know what I mean? Like, relationships do have that, but at the same time, like, you'll cut one or the other thing, and that's when everything just falls apart.
First thing in a relationship, like the most important thing is trust. You guys all have to trust like each other. Like when my girlfriend, we talked about it. Like we have to have trust with each other, and we do. Like we have a lot of trust with each other. Like she tells me things, I tell her things. Like we feel comfortable around each other.
When does extra attention from a boyfriend or girlfriend turn into obsession?
Phone calls.
Phone calls usually every day, going to see her every day. Like
smooching, kissing, hugging, kissing,
I think
cuddling.
that, like, if you have a car, you like pick them up from school, take them to school, take them here, take them there.
That's
like,
obsession.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like you don't let them like hang out.
If you call her every 15 minutes,
then
she
where
tells
are
you,
you? Where you at?
Yeah.
Who are you with? What time are you coming home?
Too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yeah.
Too much of anything that's great, fantastic is a bad thing.
Yeah, it's also true. Yeah.
You know, too much of it. So like, you know, maybe if you call her every other day, or, like give her a chance to call you.
It's always good to like, you know, switch it around, you know what I mean? So that you both get a chance to like call each other and see how each other is doing. So it doesn't seem like one person in the relationship is putting in more than the other. And then when you guys get in an argument, like it's like, well, you know, I'm the only one that calls you and I'm the only one who does this and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, you don't give me a chance to call you. Let me miss you for a couple of days and I'll call you.
Showing up at their work, you know, like just see what time they get off or like see who they leave with, you know, that's, I guess, kind of being obsessed.
Or if
it's like stalking, you know?
Yeah, if they're telling you, oh, I'm going out with the ladies tonight, you know, and they tell you the club, and you show up at the club, you know, that's
and you're just spying and they see you and they tell you next, no, you're going to deny, no, I wasn't there, I was somewhere else.
I just happen to be here with my friends.
Yeah. Like if you're obsessed with someone and you see like that person with like someone else and like you can get like stupid and like go like hurt them or like hurt yourself, you know, so.
Did you know one of the reasons why dating violence is so confusing and painful? It's because love is mixed with abuse. What percentage of teenage girls know someone who has been in a violent relationship? Stay tuned and find out.
Oh my god.
Hello? Oh, hey, John, what's up? Nothing, I'm just at Carrie's. John, it's just Carrie. We're just hanging out. We're going to the mall later. No. I'm hanging out with my friend. No, I'm not. I'm wearing jeans. I'm not doing anything wrong, John. John?
What'd he say this time?
He's just stressed.
It's not okay for him to treat you like that, Jess.
Speak up. Just because it isn't physical doesn't mean it's not abuse.
So, how many teenage girls know someone who has been abused? 40%, almost half of teenage girls between the ages of 14 to 17 know someone their age who has been hit or beaten by their boyfriend.
We've learned that love isn't about anger, jealousy, or fear. If someone hurts you or makes you feel scared or bad in any way, you should recognize that it is not a healthy relationship.
We wanted to know what you were thinking, so we went out on the street and talked to teens about situations they might find themselves in while dating.
Violence is a serious issue that affects many teens today. It can be confused as harmless affection and even sometimes totally ignored. Why is it okay for a girl to hit a guy?
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
It's not okay for them to hit guys or girls.
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
I don't think girls should hit guys.
I don't think it's okay for anybody to hit anybody.
I don't think it's right for girls to hit guys because hitting is a very violent thing.
I don't think it's okay at all.
How
How would you get involved if you saw someone getting physically or verbally abused?
Well, if it was a guy hitting a girl, then I'll try to stop it.
I've actually gotten in the middle of a few of them sometimes, and sometimes I've heard that it's not your place, but I always feel that it is.
I'd probably try to talk to both of them and try to make them resolve their problem.
I would just call the cops.
I honestly think the best idea is to keep out of it, because I don't want to come and give a judgment where I don't know about the situation and have myself in trouble.
I would tell an adult or someone.
I would probably talk to them if they were my friend. I'd talk to them and be ask them what's wrong and stuff.
I would try to break it up and then send them on their way.
Call the cops and just let anybody who could help out know.
If it was someone close to me, I know I wouldn't let that happen because I feel that violence is really wrong, and so I would try to stop it and talk to them about it.
Why is it hard to break up with someone?
You get emotionally attached.
You don't really want to hurt anyone's feelings or anything.
Well, it's always hard because you don't want to make the other person feel uncomfortable, and you don't want to cause them any hurt.
You don't know how they're going to take it. Because you don't want to hurt their feelings, because you can still care about them, you just might not like them in the same way.
It might hurt them.
Because no one wants to hurt other people.
Why do you think people stay in abusive relationships?
In abusive relationships, it's almost like an addictive behavior. It's like they get used to it and they think that's the other person makes them think that it's all they can get.
Being scared that they're going to hurt you really badly or something.
Because they're afraid of what might happen if they break up with them.
They don't know what the other person's going to do. They probably fear them.
Because they think that it might change and they still care about the person.
I think they're scared about what could happen after.
Because they've known the person for a long time and they don't want to break up with them.
Because they're afraid that someone will hurt them even more than they already do.
People were either brought up that way, and that's probably why they stay like that, because they probably don't know any better.
Because they love them or they have kids with them.
Maybe they don't get attention from their family or friends.
This survey question is, if your boyfriend or girlfriend were to ever physically hurt you, what would you do? Break up? 34% of teens actually said they wouldn't. Tell a friend or family member. Surprisingly, 31% of the teens said they wouldn't tell anyone. Call the police? Only 23% said they would call the police if they were physically hurt.
Many abusers have a likable and loving side, and many victims think they can change their partner's abusive behavior. It's not always easy to admit that the relationship you are in is abusive.
Teens may fear that if they break up with someone, rumors will be told about them, people won't believe they were abused, or they will be blamed for the abuse.
It's not easy to break up with someone, no matter what the situation is, so we decided to ask a group of teens how they would handle it.
The pressure to be in a relationship may be so great that even with any partner, and an abusive one, it is better than being alone. Breaking up is hard to do. Social suicide is the concern that if you break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, it will be the end of your social life and you'll be left out of the crowd. Keeping that information in mind, I have some questions for you guys. Why is acceptance and approval by others so important when deciding to break up with someone?
Your reputation and just your friends play a really big role, and since you hang out with them most of the time, it's you're afraid what they're going to think or if they're going to accept you the same.
They wanted to stay popular or something if they was in the same group, and maybe because they thought if they broke up with that person, their world would end.
If you guys are dating someone from this school, you think it might be hard to break up with them because you're faced with seeing them and their friends every day at school?
I don't know, I find myself in that situation right now. I see my ex around school all the time, and it's hard because you know that you're trying to move forward with your life and you're hoping that something positive is going to come out of this, and when you see it's not really having that effect that you would like, it's becoming really hard to just, see them or just communicate with them and just trying to be friends.
It is kind of an awkward feeling that if you break up with the same person and then see them every day, it's kind of hard to really, be friends with a person because, the stuff that you've been through with that person, it's just a feeling that you don't want to have.
What if you were physically afraid of seeing that person in school, like you felt that you were in some kind of danger?
The worst thing a person could do is to not tell anybody about it. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have to tell the whole world that they're afraid of seeing this person because they're afraid of harm might be inflicted onto them. But I think talking to an administrator or just making your closest friends aware of that.
I think that you should just have a friend that you can always talk to and walk around school with, be with, never be alone.
Did you know that approximately half of the men arrested for sexual assault are 24 years of age or under? True or false? Most teenage rape victims do not know their attacker. Think about your answer and we'll be right back.
Why don't you pick up the phone? This is pissing me off. Nobody treats me like this, especially you. You do not want to get me mad. Number one, I told you not to go out. Number two, why haven't you called me back? Are you stupid or something? Call me back. I can't believe the way she's treating me, man. The way she treats you.
Speak up. Just because it isn't physical doesn't mean it's not abuse.
So, is it true that most teenage rape victims don't know their attackers? Actually, 85% of all sexual assaults of teenagers occur between people who know each other, as a boyfriend, friend, or just somebody they might know.
Teen dating violence often is hidden because teenagers experience a serious relationship for the first time. How do we figure out for ourselves what is healthy, unhealthy, or abusive in a dating relationship?
Many teens get confused about kissing and consent. A boy may believe that if he kisses you, he can go further. Many girls may think this is normal for a dating relationship.
The reality is, 1 in 3 teenagers have experienced physical or sexual abuse by a dating partner. In our next segment, we talk with a teen who had very hurtful experience with a boy she thought would protect her.
Katie is a typical teenager. Like most freshmen, her first year of high school was both exciting and scary. When an older boy showed interest in her, she was happy to find someone who would protect and care for her. Unfortunately, the relationship was not what she expected. You won't see Katie's face because she wanted to protect her identity. And in reality, this could be any teenage girl. Describe your relationship with your boyfriend. How did it begin?
At first we started off as friends and then we became really close. And he was kind of good looking. Okay. I mean, now I don't think that, but then I did. And he was older and a lot of other people were attracted to him. And in the beginning it was really happy because it was probably one of my first serious relationships. And he promised me everything and it would be so great, and I would just went along with it. And so at first, yeah, I was happy.
When did you first notice that there was something wrong?
I think it began when he started telling me things about some of my closest friends, that things like that they had been lying to me or going behind my back and doing things, and he eventually started telling me how I should dress and what kind of things I should wear and how I should talk and who I could talk to and to be a certain way. But then I just told myself, well, he loves me and if this is what he wants, then it's all right.
How was he emotionally abusive to you?
You would do this for me if you love me. I felt totally like a puppet of his. Like I would say what he wanted me to say and I would talk to who he wanted me to talk to, and he had total control over me, and that's not the kind of person I am, but with him that was okay in my mind.
Are you going out with someone who checks up on you constantly, puts you down, makes you worry about reactions to things you say or do, loses their temper quickly and brags about mistreating others, hits something to show the ability and power to hurt you? If you experience anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, scared, or intimidated, you may be in a relationship that is physically or emotionally abusive. Did he ever tell you it was your fault?
Not that I can remember, but I know if any little thing like went wrong, he would become really angry. And I had seen how he would be angry at his friends or his parents, and that was scary. And so I didn't want to make him angry just because I had seen like how he was to other people.
Did you love your boyfriend even though he treated you this way?
Yes, I told myself that that was just one of the things that had to happen, like that all of the different things, like telling me like how to dress and what to say and whatever, was just one like part of a relationship. That's what was happening with everyone. It wasn't just me.
Was your boyfriend physically violent?
Yes.
Katie was raped by her boyfriend. She was at his house on a typical date. The kissing was consensual, but then he went too far. Katie said no multiple times, but it didn't matter. He told her everything was going to be fine. He made her believe that this was how it was supposed to be.
That wasn't right. That wasn't how it was supposed to be.
Why did you stay with him?
Well, I told him after like he had told me all the things about my friends, he was the only person I had in my life at that point in time, and all the friends I had were through him. And so if I had like cut myself off from him, then I would be all alone, and no one wants to be alone, you know.
How were you able to get out of the relationship?
I had realized that there was a side to him that I saw through everything, but it wasn't until the lies started coming to the surface that I realized that it wasn't good.
If you had a friend in an unhealthy relationship, how would you help them?
If you see a friend who needs help, you should help them, even if they're pushing you away and everything, because you'll help. Even if it seems like they hate you and everything, you could really help them and change their life almost. And I realize now that if I had listened to my friends and hadn't gotten mad at them, a lot of things would be different. Now that I look back, I realize that they were only trying to help me.
How has your family and friends helped you through this traumatic experience?
After I told my mom about all the lies and all the things that had happened, she was really supportive of me, and of course, and she was on my side, and that was helpful, and just the support that family and friends who, after something bad happens, don't like throw you away. To have someone who's there still, even after it seems to you as if your whole world had fallen apart.
What have you learned from this experience?
Well, definitely I think a lot more before I do things and involve myself in things. And just the realization that people, even though you think that they love you and you think that they're just looking out for you, that it's not always true. And you have to be aware. You can't just keep telling yourself that everything's okay if something inside of you is telling you it's not.
With the support of her family and friends, Katie found the courage to report the rape to the police. At this time, the district attorney is reviewing the incident, and the case is still pending. If you or a friend ever experiences any type of violence with a dating partner, don't be afraid to report it to the police. It's your right to stand up against abuse.
The final question on our survey is, do you agree with the following statements? It would do some people good to be hit by their partners. We were shocked to see that 3 out of 10 teens said yes. Domestic dating violence is a crime, and it should be punished, no matter who does it. Luckily, 7 out of 10 teens believe it is a crime. Pushing is a form of violence. Unfortunately, almost half of the teens polled still need to learn that even pushing is a form of violence.
We've covered a lot of information about violence in this show. Here's what you should remember. Small things turn into big things. Know how to recognize them.
There's a lot of places where you can get additional information about our topic. So grab a pen and some paper and get ready to write down a few sites you might want to visit.
Here's a website that's dedicated to the differences between a good relationship and a bad one. To see what they have to say, go to seeitandstopit.org. If you're looking for a teen to talk to who really knows their stuff, you might want to check out the chat room at teenrelationships.org. Making Waves is a website that is available both in English and Spanish. This website gives teens the tools to learn compassion, awareness, and the skills to help other teens. Visit mwaves.org. a website dedicated to teens and their right to have a relationship free from violence and fear is Break the Cycle. To get educated and to empower yourself, log on to breakthecycle.org.
When you need to talk to someone, there are many hotlines dedicated to teens. If you feel that you are in danger and need protection, you can call the California Youth Crisis Hotline at 1-800-843-5200. If you find yourself in a situation that makes you uncomfortable and you need someone to talk to, you can call the teen hotline anytime at 1-800-852-8336. If you feel your partner has forced you to do something without your consent, you need to talk to someone about it. Call the Rape and Abuse Hotline at 1-800-656-4673. Break the Cycle provides free legal advice, counseling, and information to youth who are experiencing abuse in a relationship. If you need help, call their hotline at 1-888-988-TEEN.
Thank you for joining us. We hope this show gave you something to think about. Please know there's always someone you can talk to.
There are a lot of teens who put this show together. As the credits roll, you will hear from some of them about what they learned while creating the show.
See you next time on Teens in Action.
Bye.
Bye.
So yeah, totally, for sure.
Possible ways to identify a victim are: they always worry about making their boyfriend or girlfriend angry, might give up things that are important to them, they are likely to cancel plans for reasons that don't sound true, often show signs of physical abuse like bruises or cuts, and could get pressured into having sex.
Possible signs of an abuser are: they often blow disagreements out of proportion, use insults to break down their partner's self-esteem, checks in on the other constantly, continually blames others for their own problems, and can abuse drugs or alcohol.
If you suspect someone you know is being abused, you can help by listening to what they are saying.
Don't make judgments. Tell them they don't deserve to be hurt.
Don't give advice. Just be supportive and talk to them about the choices they have. If you are in an abusive relationship, remember, you are not alone. It is not your fault. No one ever deserves to be abused. Help is always available.
How does someone get out of an abusive relationship? Don't rely on yourself to get out of a situation. You're not alone. The people who love and care about you can help you break away. It's important to know that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It actually shows that you have a lot of courage and are willing to stand up for yourself.
Dating safety tips. Consider double dating the first few times you go out with a new person. Make sure a parent or friend knows what your plans are and what time to expect you home. Be aware that drugs and alcohol will decrease your ability to react to uncomfortable situations. Assert yourself when necessary. Be firm and straightforward in your relationships. Trust your instincts. If a situation makes you uncomfortable, try to be calm and think of a way to remove yourself from the situation.
Dating someone comes with both rights and responsibilities. Your dating rights are to be treated with respect, to choose and keep your own friends, to change your mind at any time, to not be abused physically, emotionally, or sexually, to leave a relationship, to disagree, and to live without fear. Your dating responsibilities are to support your boyfriend or girlfriend emotionally, to communicate, not manipulate, to allow your boyfriend or girlfriend to maintain their individuality, to not humiliate or demean your girlfriend or boyfriend, to not threaten to harm yourself or someone else, to refuse to abuse anyone physically, emotionally, or sexually.
Consent is when you freely give permission through your words or actions for something to happen.
There is no need to explain or apologize for saying no.
It's your right to say no.
Excuse me. I've been getting mixed messages about women and violence. I need a little clarification.
Uncle Bill, how am I supposed to grow up to respect women when I have such lousy role models?
Boys are never going to approach you.
Can you help me reshape my attitudes towards women?
You need to teach them that violence against women is wrong.
4, and 6. So,
Public, municipal, and operator-produced cable. LA City View 35, CityWorks number 14. Time Warner Cable, Pediatric Therapy Network. BTV6, Teens in Action presents Violence. What's love got to do with it?
just want to make sure we were done. And the Emmy goes to Teens in Action presents Violence. What's love got to do with it?
Wow, this is really very cool. Here's to the city of Burbank for supporting teens. And here's to the hundreds of teens who have worked very hard in putting up all our shows together. It's their show, it's their accomplishment, and this is really great.
Thank you to the teens that are here tonight representing Teens in Action, Rachel, Amelie, Jonathan, Brittany, and Ani, and thank you to the Television Academy for this honor.